The following contest is scheduled for one fall and is for the Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League Championship. First off, making his way to the ring from Essex, England, weighing in at 169 pounds, he is a one-time Fantasy Gaming League team winner and is the reigning Fantasy Gaming Solo League champion, Marc Smith Biff. What an opportunity. He has been mocked, humiliated and belittled throughout not just the Fantasy Gaming League seasons, but also his life. Marc Smith Biff, the man no one wanted in their team or their life, and yet he stands on the cusp of his greatest success. He was last in the team picks last year, which meant he was last in the drafting order, yet he managed to overcome all the odds and win the Solo League. An unprecedented piece of history in our wonderful sport. His opponent making his way to the ring from central London, England, weighing in at 154 pounds. He is the Fantasy Gaming League 2017 MVP, the Fantasy Gaming Solo League champion in 2018, and he is now the reigning, defending Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League champion, Le Champion! Here he is, the champion himself, Paper. An unlikely champion in many people's eyes. With Hall's 2-year domination, it just seemed like a foregone conclusion for him to make it free. But Paper came with a plan. He stole Hall's closest ally and top performer Adkins and came out of the gates flying. Hall crumbled under the pressure, and Paper ripped away the belt with a stunning score of 839. All 10 games scoring over 80. Can he do this again? Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to the Fantasy Gaming League 2020. We are back with another year of fantasy gaming. Let's get right into it and introduce the competitors who will be going for the Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League Championship. And the championship itself has gone through a major overhaul in the form of a custom-made championship belt, which, if I do say myself, looks the fucking bollocks, which is, at the moment, Papers. He's the reigning champion. So there is more on the line than ever. We have a real Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League gold-plated belt up for grabs that you can win if you win this competition. But let's get on to the two main men. First off, the challenger. He is a one-time winning team member and the 2019 Fantasy Gaming Solo League champion. It's Marc Smith Biff. How's it going, boy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I got like the intro. It was good. That was.
Lies as well. Lying of intro, not the champion.
You've not heard the real intro yet. That will be edited in post. So this is like a low key one.
Oh wow!
But you have accolades. You're not just a loser. That's good for you.
No, I am not just a loser. There's more to it. I've said it for years, but now it's finally
come home to roost. It's there in black and white in front of me on this Excel thing I made years ago. So you can't dispute that. And it's up on the website, which Chappers has been updating. So there's a little accolade centre where you can find your little name there. But it's you're the challenger. It's a solo win for you last year. We'll get into all the ifs and buts of that later on. But let's introduce our champion. He was the MVP in 2017. He was the 2018 Fantasy Gaming Solo League champion, and he is now the reigning, defending Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League champion, Le Champion himself, Paper. How
Give me a little bit of bubbly.
You've been pissing it all up, haven't you?
I've been fucking, it's glad you kept hold of that Dimp Digital money and spent it in the belt, because I'd have spent that all on the bubbler. It's quite a year for the Papers Lemons. Road home to victory, easy. Going and looking forward to 2020, another easy year.
We'll see. I mean, the aggravating thing is you're not wrong in the first part that it was a pretty easy victory in hindsight, but whether it's another easy one, we'll yet to see. But we will have a little chat in a moment and introduce you, maybe go through talk a bit of bollocks like we always do. But I'm just going to run through the rules for those that don't know or that want to know, or, people complain if they don't understand what's going on. So pretty straightforward. For those of you who aren't familiar with the format, the aim of the game is for the participants to create a roster of 10 games that score well with the critics in 2020. It really is as simple as that. Now, we take the aggregated review score from opencritic.com. So a game that's released, it will compile all of the top critics out there and come up with an aggregated score out of 100. Whatever that Open Critic score is, that will be the game's official score, and that will be what the game scores in the person's roster. The participant who has the highest overall score will take home the championship. Paper's got it at the moment. He hasn't got it physically because we're working out transport, but he's had it, he's felt it, he's had pictures with it, and it's sitting here still, but it's worth having, and I expect you all to be building trophy cabinets, belt holders, whatever you need to have this puppy up one day if you do win this championship, because there's a lot of fucking money blown on it. Anyway, there's two competitions that we run each year. Firstly, we have our solo or our individual championship, which this year will be contested by Logan, Chappers, Adkins, not Adcock, Hall, Pac-Man Adcock, and D-Man himself, Parky, who's a new entrant into the Fantasy Gaming League. Now, some of the regular listeners will notice there's a certain name missing there. It's with a heavy heart and this is new for the two competitors, they did not know this, it's a heavy heart to announce that Sir Dave will not be taking part in this year's competition. Now, it's a hammer blow for all of us here at Dimp Digital. I don't want to go into too much detail because he asked me not to. Personal things going on. All I want to say really from us, Daves, if you're listening, is from Dimp Digital, we miss you dearly, and we really do hope that you get your bollocks back next year, because you need to be in this competition. I think the medical term for why he's not turned up is small bollock syndrome. Biff, you're quite familiar with that. So, I mean, you've had it before. I mean, is it a long-term thing, or are we talking he could be back, in a few months trying to get in later?
I'm not even going to respond to that one answer. That's how much of an insult that was. So.
He's still got his fucking small bollocks, hasn't he? That's the problem.
He may still have, but he may have found a way to overcome it. I don't know, but yeah, Dave's not in it this year, and it's not for small bollocks. What is the small bollocks syndrome? I think he's a bit fatigued. There is a lot of pressure, as Paper found out last year, and Hall's spiraled into a pit of despair. He's gone off completely off the rails after his loss, so it can take its toll. But we have Parky, who is a new entrant. He's been a staple of many Dimp Fortnite and Overwatch victories. He's been part of our raid team, as also on Destiny 2. We've not had him on the broadcast before, but that could all change in 2020. The annoying thing for Biff is he's now got Hall to contend with, and Parky, who, if you don't know, are both his bosses at work. So both bosses hawking down him from all aspects. He can't even get away from it in his personal life. I want to just, get your thoughts on this, guys. Turn of events, Paper, no Sir Dave to pick from, no individual titles for him coming this year. We don't know if he's going to be back. No dilution brain to contend with. What does that mean for you? I'm not asking you to give away tactics, but is that a potential blow?
It's annoying. He's got a good brain for 2 or 3 games, and then he just wheedles off. So as a captain, he's a good pick. He's a solid pick because you only need 2 decent games out of him. You don't care too much about their individual aspects. No man management there. No team game. So yeah, it's a blow, and he needs to get those bollocks enlarged for next year. He needs to come back. I'm sure he will. But yeah, Parky on the other hand, that's the mystery card now, isn't it? No one knows how he is going to do. He could stun everyone, or he could, come along and just, be awful. So who knows? Parky, the mystery card.
Absolutely. Biff, you're a bit close to Parky than perhaps Paper is. What do you expect out of Parky? You even said to us before you're never picking Sir Dave in a month for Sunday, so your game plan presumably won't have changed, and he'll be thrilled to hear that.
Yeah, it's nothing personal against Sir Dave. I've just never spoke to him, never had a conversation with him, don't know what he looks like.
Well, you sent a video once saying he could be sound as a pound or he could be a rapist. You just don't know, and I don't know if that's...
Well, he's not in the, the pick, so maybe those rape allegations are starting to come to fruition. Who knows? But sorry, I don't even know. But yeah, I know Parky. Parky sounds a pound, not a rapist.
Like Dave.
Well, these allegations, they're unfounded. There is no evidence to suggest that that's what Dave is. Just before we get out there, this is going to...
His lawyers have told us to say.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that Biff's tactics is based on people he likes rather than, performance. So that makes me feel happy already.
How do you feel about that? Is that fair, Biff? Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, yeah, basically, because I get on better with people, and I don't, I think Piper seems to think that he's some sort of mastermind behind last year, when you just have to pick people that are pretty decent people, and they'll pick wealthier. So yeah, that's what I've gone for. People that I know well, intelligent, not just Piper blowing his own horn. There we go.
So you're looking for You're looking for people that you get on with. So there's some team harmony there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
I'm not with someone trying to stitch you up.
Exactly, that's it. And maybe people that don't like Piper. So
there's plenty of them. Don't you worry about that.
That's what I have to deal with every year.
Yeah, it's always an uphill struggle for him. As I mentioned, the main event. We've got 2 competitions. That's this individual one kind of dealt with. But the main event is who is going to be crowned Dimp Digital's Fantasy Gaming League champion. And as I said, we're battling out. We have Paper and Biff, who need to create a 10-game roster using 4 of their own picks and 6 games selected by the team members that they choose. Each of the team members will provide 2 available games. There are no duplicates allowed on any roster. That's for both team and individual. So each game will need to be unique. The captains should have no idea what each team member has on their roster. So as I've said before, it's not just the judgment on the video games and the games coming out, but also the people within Dimp Digital. And I think that's where Biff's trying to get it to. He's trying to get familiar faces in that he thinks he can trust. Anyway, transfers. We have retained our existing transfer system. So We've got 3 transfer windows lasting 1 calendar month. The first will be in March. The second will be in June, which is E3 month. Always a good month for me and one for people out there in the gaming world. And also a good one for transfers because sometimes you get people snatching things as and when they're announced. Third will be September, and that'll be the last one. This will allow participants to transfer out any unreleased games for a 5-point penalty. Now, we have a new rule that's been introduced this year. It's known as the Logan rule. Okay? What this basically means is that now we have a predetermined end date for the season, and this is purely to avoid any ambiguity about when games need to have an open critic score by on the site. So in 2019, last year, and I'm sure Paper was going to bring this up later and you will keep rabbiting on about it, but there was some controversy. Logan had picked Football Manager Touch 2020. Release date was sometime in November. Weeks passed and no reviews appeared. So I kind of reached out to Logan and said, look, do you want to see this through? I mean, we kind of need to record before the end of the year so we can get 2020 going. And we came to an agreement that he was happy to concede it by X date. So he said, if in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, whatever it was, if there's no score there, I'm happy. It's not going to happen. I'll take the blank, basically. That date came and went. There was no open critic score, which meant Logan did not win the individual title. Now, had he had a game that was released that scored over 40 odd, he would have won the championship, and it would be him sitting there, not Biff. Unfortunately for Logan, 3 days later, the score appeared, and obviously the deadline had been and gone. So there was a chance there that he could have won it had he held his nerve or pushed home the issue that he hadn't been told at an exit date. But I and I'm sure Biff now appreciates him agreeing that date. We had no idea what was going to happen with that game. So to avoid that this season, it will officially end on December the 10th. If a game does not have an open critic score by that date, then it will be classed as a blank, even if it appears on the 11th. And all competitors are now aware of that, and they've agreed terms. The captains don't really have a choice. And it's really there so that we can produce the podcast, really. It gives us time before Christmas and before everyone buggers off or gets busy to get this stuff out to you and then start as soon as we can in January. So that's it. The season runs till December the 10th. If it's not on Open Critic, then you lose it. And half of the game, in my view, is trying to pick up on the quirks of Open Critic, because sometimes you get a Switch release title that gets a new page, sometimes you don't. There's all bits and pieces like that. But that's the rules out the way. If there's any questions, I'm sure these two will be asking. But let's have a little preview chat here. Biff, you know, as I mentioned there, a lot of people were saying you were lucky, very lucky boy to be here, because Logan, had he refused to concede, he would be sitting here instead of you, and he would be standing there looking at that beautiful Solo League trophy, which I'm sure you have up on your mantelpiece. But does this give you any, I don't know, extra motivation to prove yourself, that people are already saying, well, he's not a real paper champion, not paper, but you know what I mean, plastic?
Not really.
No?
No.
You don't care that people were saying that you're crap and you don't deserve to be here?
No, not really. The date was the 17th.
That's just Twitter. I haven't even looked on Instagram. You're saying all sorts.
I think the date was the 17th, and Logan agreed it.
Yeah.
You know, if he hadn't done, he would be winner. That's you know, that's the fact. But the other fact is, he didn't. So
what would you have done in that situation? Had that been your game, would you have just been like, yeah, get it over with, or would you have gone, no, I'm this is going until the 31st of December, and dug your heels in?
No, I think I would have done the same as Logan. I'd have said, give it a week, and if nothing happens, I'll bin it. And you know, Logan kindly done that. You know, I've reaped the rewards, but you know, it's not. I didn't cheat. You know, it was just handed to me on a platter, basically.
It was indeed. It was indeed. Paper, I don't really know what to say to you, because you've claimed many, many times that you've had a long-term plan in place to get in this spot. And you have. You slowly built your way up from MVP to league winner, and then to win the championship itself. Do you have a plan in place to stay at the top of the mountain? Because we've seen the likes of like a Pac-Man Adcock knocked off a dominant champion in the quiz in Adkins, and the very next year he lost it. What's to stop that happening for you? What's to stop you from being the next Andy Ruiz?
Well, first of all, let's address the real issue in the room. It's Le Champion versus Le Cheat, and that's what we've got here. The stallion of Le Champion, instead of facing another stallion, is facing a mashed potato weasel, and so it's degraded the whole competition. It's just not the thing that Le Champion needs to be facing at this moment in time. But Le Champion, that is me, will take the title. There is game plans, but that's for Le Champion to reveal at the end of the podcast, not the beginning. It's a season-long game, not an easy, not a let's be friends game. It's fucking tactics, mate. There's fucking data that goes in behind all of my decisions, and that data's in front of me right now. Whereas, I want to be your friend. That's not going to get you the title. And if it does, don't replay this clip.
Well, it'll be etched into everyone's ears after that amazing promo. I mean, Biff, do you have any response to that? I mean, is it just a simple attempt of him trying to goad you, or do you think he's got a point?
No, he's just trying to goad me. He hasn't got a point. I think he knows it.
Under your skin, though, because you get hot under the collar, your little ears go red, and then people going, "Oh, he's stressed again."
Last year, I got laughed out with my picks, and I won. And then that clip was replayed, and Hall had egg on his face. And I'll be sitting here in a year's time, and you'll replay that clip of what Paper just said, and he'll have more egg on his face.
Yeah, instead it wasn't egg; it was mashed potato.
Wow, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you have to. Everyone you have to feel sorry for is Krog. The season before, he lost to me by 1 point.
Yeah.
Last year, he lost to Biff because Biff cheated. So hopefully it's third time lucky for him.
Really? You want to be faced off against Krog, because you two have got a big history, and I feel that might boil over into physical blows.
That is what we're all hoping for, and that's what the people are paying money for their Dimp subscription for.
True. Although they're not paying a lot at the moment. I think we're running a bit dry of the old money. So here we are, the coin flip. This is going to decide. Well, you win the coin flip. You get to decide whether you want the first game pick, which the captains get. They get 1 and 2 basically in the game pick, or the first team pick, which basically means you can choose the first person to go on your team, and they will start filling in the roster for you until we get down to the latter end of it. So, Biff, you are challenger, so you get to choose whether it's going to be heads or tails. Paper, there's 2 coins to choose from, a 50p piece or a quid. What do you want to choose?
50 pence.
Fucking awkward. Right.
The big one. The big boy.
One. So, Biff, heads or tails?
Tails never fails.
Let's have a look. Oh. Tails never fails. Biff, you will get to decide. Do you want the first team member pick, or do you want to pick the first game to go into your roster?
I'll have first game.
You'll have first game, so you don't trust your team already, whoever they may be. You're already saying, look, I want control of this myself.
I've got a feeling that Piper won't pick the people I want to pick anyway, so I've won both ways. So I get my first pick a person, then first game. That's how I see it.
Well, interesting you say that, because I wanted first person. The reason I'm saying that is there's probably 2-3 big games next year. So I think we'll both pick either one of them, and then you've got to pick people, and then you need to pick people with a decent head. So I'd rather have those decent heads first rather than the game, because I know your later on the list is going to be shit compared to mine.
Biff, what's going to be your first game pick then?
Last of Us Part 2.
The Last of Us Part 2. Naughty Dog.
The obvious.
Yeah, well, I mean, Paper may be right, there's 3 big games. That's obviously one of them. It's been delayed back until May, so it's had a delay already. It's supposed to be out in February. Biff, any concerns about that being pushed back in date-wise?
Not till... that will definitely come out in 2020. There's no way they'll push it back to 2021. So
no, I mean, worst case scenario is that it's a launch title for PS5,
and it will still take titles.
It will still probably take titles. Can they do it again though, Naughty Dog? I mean, we've had Uncharted 4, which was great. The Last of Us is a bit more of a in-depth story. It's your favourite game of all time, I believe, and this is another one lurking out there. Have they got the minerals to really produce top-tier game for the second part of the series? Because they always say the second album's harder than the first.
Yeah, but Uncharted 2 I thought was better than Uncharted, so...
True.
What did the critics say, though? That's the question, not what you thought.
They did say better.
Oh, I'm walking away from that comment then.
Vapor, your turn. What's going to be your first game pick?
A Resident Evil 3 remastered, or whatever it's going to be called, the remake.
It'll be. I think it's just going to be called Resident Evil 3, like they did with 2. Although it was technically a remake. Yeah, that's a solid pick. So Resident Evil 3, that arrives pretty early in the year, April the 3rd at the moment. So it shouldn't even go wrong. There's still time to get hold of that. My concern with this game, and I will be throwing my opinions about when I can, because I've got nothing else to do, is that it's too soon after Resident Evil 2. Now, Resident Evil 2 got a 92 in 2019. Fantastic score, brilliant. But my worry is this will be too similar for the critics and they'll be turned off by it. What's your thinking with this one? You expecting another 92, or you just hoping it's going to be high 80s or mid 80s?
Look, my game with picking games is always, if you're looking for games that are going to score over 80, you're going to be good or in a good position come the end of the season. Right. It's not so for me, you know, it's one of those ones you think if the critics don't like it, it's too similar to Resi 2, still probably going to score an 83, 84 maybe. If they do something a little bit different and people love it, you know, it's going to go up to hopefully near those 90s. So I don't see it doing as well as Resi 2 because it's just, you know, it was the comeback and everyone's like, wow. But I do think it'll score an 80 plus.
There you go. Biff, any concerns about not having that?
Nah.
But you love Resident Evil 2. You've been playing it lately. Yeah,
it's a very good game, but I think I think Resident Evil 2 scored so well because of the nostalgia of it, and people are like, oh, it's really good. But that nostalgia element of it has gone now because it's already been out. So now you're back to Resident Evil 3. I think it'll still do well. Don't be wrong. I think it'll, you know, hit 80, but it ain't as good as The Last of Us 2. And that's what I've got to say about it.
Any concerns?
I do think at this point that Biff has probably got the better game. Right. Out of the two, The Last of Us Part 2 is my top pick, but you know, it's one I would have happily. I knew Biff would pick it if he went for first game. Yeah. And I was happy to take that little bit of a hit. Last of Us Part 2 as well might also, the nostalgia of Last of Us Part 1, if they don't hit everything that they need to hit and things are not improved and it feels too similar, that could struggle as well. It's in exactly the same position as probably Resident Evil 3. That if it doesn't tick the boxes, it's going to. But you know, Naughty Dog are doing the right thing by keep delaying, so that they're clearly trying to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's almost a fair comment for both. They both have to tick all the boxes because there's hype on both of them. And I think we've seen in the last few years that hype can sometimes kill games, the expectations there. And I think both of these have high expectations. Resident Evil 3's differently because last year we had Resident Evil 2 and it kind of come out of nowhere and shocked everyone. The Last of Us Part 2, it's the follow-up to one of the highest rated games, one of the games that goes in people's best evers of all time. So they've both got pressure on them, and sometimes the pressure can hurt, but both very capable studios. I would be in dreamland if both those came out and were excellent, so I'm hoping they both do well. So we stick with you, Paper, because you have been given the task of having the first team member pick, and this is where it gets really fucking difficult for me. So do you want to reveal who's going to be your first team member? I think I've got a little idea who it might be.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go for not Adkins, Adcock.
You're going for Adcock?
Yeah.
Good Lord. It weren't him. I wasn't expecting that. To be honest, so already egg on my face, which I didn't think would happen today. Not ideal. So Adcock... he is sitting quite low down on the rankings, 5 out of 6 because of we'll go through how they're ordered later on, but he's 5th out of 6 from last year's championship. The game that he's given you, so it's your number 2 game in your roster, is Doom Eternal.
Oh, that's a good pick, and that's one that's, you know, that's sitting 6th on my list. So, you know, it's one of the ones I did want on my team. And so that's the reason you pick that little Pac-Man Adcock, is because, you know, you say he sits further down the list, and I know why you say that, but, you've also got to look at the data of everyone's top 2 picks last year and how people performed. And Adcock averaged the best out of all the top 2 picks from last season. So, get him in and, he will perform. And he's done well with, that Doom Eternal there pick for me.
Well, there you go. I mean, that was a game that caught Hall out last year, wasn't it? It got delayed out of 2019. Can't see it getting delayed this year again because it'll be silly season. Biff, bit of a bitter pill not to get that one because I'm sure you like the Doom sort of reboot and remake of 2016.
Yeah, Doom Eternal was I think third for me, so I'm a good game.
It's a good one to get. Well, you get a chance to punch back. Who's going to be your first team member pick?
I'm going to go for the other. I'm going to go for Adkins.
Go for Adkins. Go for the other Tom A.
Yeah.
The fucking Adcock. Why not just call them the Adcock brothers? It might be easier for all of us. Maybe we can come up with something there because it confuses the fuck out of me sometimes. And I'm the one who's got to fucking sit here looking at all the data all the time. But you got Adkins. So just a little bit of data here. Both Adcock and Adkins, the sort of unknown brothers, one with hair, one without. Their first picks were both Cyberpunk. That's what we're talking about. Sorry, Last of Us Part 2. So they both had that in there lurking. Obviously, we can't have that because it's been picked. But Adkins has gone for what you probably expected in Cyberpunk 2077, Biff. One of the big boys. Now, we had a conversation about this at a wedding we went to, and you was not too concerned about picking this yourself. Can you explain that line of thought?
I just didn't think it looked very good, if I'm honest, in the trailer. So I don't think Keanu will be able to drag this one out the gutters. But
it's CD Projekt Red, The Witcher 3. You've been replaying that.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully Adkins is right, and he's I trust Adkins. So yeah, let's see what that does.
Adkins has never been on the losing team.
There we go.
Not once.
Gutted.
Every single team game he's been on the winning side of. Now, his individual performance has been nothing short of a disgrace for amount of his ability, but team-wise, he's always in that W circle. Paper, Cyberpunk 2077, we may have had a chat about this, and I feel like you're sort of in the same boat as Biff, where, it'd be nice to have, but again, you weren't going to put all your eggs in one basket for this one.
Yeah, and I think this is what we say. That's now the big three, Resi 3, Last of Us Part 2 and Cyberpunk. My worry with Cyberpunk is it's an unknown entity and they're throwing stars at it. And then, I it's either going to go one... I don't think it'll score amazingly, like 90s and stuff like that. But I think it probably will do the low 80s because a bit like Death Stranding to a certain extent, some people it can be pulled out the bag a little bit. But I do worry a little bit. The gameplay just, it just doesn't look like it's for everyone. It could be like any other type of game, but they've just thrown some stars in and just done in a new type of world. So that could, the hype could, cost it some points.
Yeah, because CD Projekt Red are like darlings because of The Witcher 3, which is a fantastic game. And I think the worry for me with Cyberpunk is it's not something that I'll be put off by, but it is first person. And I remember having a chat with Adkins and he was a bit like, oh, that sort of de-hyped me from it a little bit, being first person. Because people generally, we look at The Last of Us, for as an example, Resident Evil 3, they are titles that are third person. It just seems more palatable to people. So I don't know. Maybe it will cost. I'm hoping it doesn't because those 4 games, Last of Us 2, Cyberpunk, Resident Evil 3, Doom Eternal, if they're all coming out at mid to high 80s, that's a great year already, and I'll be happy with that, to be honest. But we will see how they all perform. We go back to Paper, who now will choose his second team member.
So this one, I guess I'm rolling the dice a little bit.
Oh, God.
And I'm hoping they're not going to let me down. I'm going to go for Joshua Harry Vaughan Hall.
Now, have you just gone for him just as a sort of right, we were competitors, now you're under my thumb, up your arse job is it one of those?
No, not really. He's generally got a decent brain on him. Last year, I think he had a bit of a mare, and he was the one that really cost his own team. But I think it was not really to any thought of his own. I think I had Anthem on my list. He had Anthem on his list. He was just happy to get it, and after that point, got screwed. And then Doom Eternal, everyone thought was coming out. and just got screwed again. So he was just unlucky. He's generally pretty decent, and I think he'll want to, come out and sort of show. I think for him, he's looking forward to doing the individual stuff for the first time. So I think he'll put together a really good individual list, because I think he'll want to prove a point where for the first time he gets to do his own list rather than rely on others. So yeah, I think, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to have on his near the top of his list.
Yep. So you've actually got third on his list. So the games that he wanted at 1 and 2 are already gone. He was after The Last of Us Part 2 as his top one. And then he was also after Doom Eternal. So just a quick correction, Adcock had Doom Eternal first, then Last of Us Part 2. That doesn't matter. Excuse me. But you've got his third pick, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's a brilliant pick. So that's sitting at 8 on my list, and it's one, therefore I want in my top 10. So, once again, my team seems to now, we're going for this nostalgia look, clearly our first 3 games with Resi 3, Doom Eternal, and now Final Fantasy VII Remake. It could cost, if it's not up to scratch, the nostalgia, it could cost, but I just don't think it will. I think it will. It's, once again, it's an 80+ game. It's where I want to be on the list.
Do you know what it feels like to me? It feels like a sort of a Kingdom Hearts game of last year. Like, will perform either decently or very well. So I think that got an 85 in the end, which is nothing to sniff at. And there's potential with the nostalgia for this one for it to be really high, because Final Fantasy VII, Biff, one of your favourite unfinished games, I believe, because you got the disc free and it wouldn't read it on the PlayStation, so you couldn't finish it.
Yep.
So there's a chance here for you to finish the fucking game for once. Gonna play it?
Yeah, I probably will. I probably will wait to see what the reviews are. I don't think it'll be like a day one sort of game for me, but yeah, I will be looking into it and keep my eye on it.
Here's the only thing that worries me about that game, is that they've already said that this will not be Final Fantasy VII Remake in full.
It's not turn-based combat, is it?
It's not turn-based combat. You can...
I think that's a bit of a blower.
Switch something on to do that. There's like a version of it I think you can turn on. But the main thing for me is this is part 1 of... We don't know how many parts. Most people are making the assumption it's going to be 3 parts. So you're not going to get, potentially, a finished story here. And I'm wondering whether that'll leave people a little bit rosy-faced, thinking, well, I wanted to see the end of this new remake, and when are we going to get parts 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6? So it's got a lot to live up to. Obviously, turn-based, as Biff mentioned. This looks more like an action-based game. The combat does look decent, but it might turn people off. Biff, your second team pick, please. Who's it going to be?
I'm going to go for Mr. Long Arms himself, Logan.
Long Arms himself, Logan. The man who, blew it, basically, last year. He could have won it, but he chucked it away for 2 reasons. 1, he agreed to concede. But 2, and this is the karma part of it, and this is what no one talks about, he tried to game the system. He had Football Manager 2020 on there and Football Manager 2020 Touch. He was trying to game the fucking system, get 2 easy games, and it backfired and blew up in his face. So I'm quite happy he's not sitting here. You try and game my system, and that's the sort of results you get.
It's not gaming your system; it's gaming OpenCritic, and I think that's why we go with OpenCritic, because there's ways to game it if you're clever.
Well, he tried to game it, and it fucking blew up again. So you can't game. This is a watertight championship, as I've said many times. But Mr. Long Arms himself, Mr. Logan, and I think this is a stunner of a pick.
Oh, yes, Krog.
Persona 5 Royale.
Excellent. Well done, Chris.
Persona 5 Royal. Now, for those that aren't really sure of what that is, Persona 5 is a game that I picked when we was playing in the amateur leagues. Sort of, I was getting people up to speed, teaching them the ways of fantasy gaming. I picked Persona 5 in my league, and I think I was part of Dave's team, and Hall and Sir Dave were the captains. They had no idea what it was. They said, well, I don't know what that is. They were frantically Googled it. It's a Japanese role-playing game. Persona 5 ended on a 94. That is insanely high for a game in this day and age. Now, Persona 5 Royale is basically a deluxe edition of that with new chapters and new characters to play as. So, to be honest, I'll be surprised they fucked this up, Biff, and got you anything lower than a 90.
Well, this is why you picked Long Arms Logan. He's no mug.
You think he's no mug, really?
Well, no, he's not. He does well normally. He could have won it last year and taken the title off Piper. Sorry, something just fell off my wall.
That fucking trophy.
No. He could have taken the title off Piper last year by 1 point, and he could have taken the title off me if he'd have been more sort of brutal. So, yeah. That's why I picked him. And he doesn't like Piper and he'll want to see him lose, so that's another reason.
That is true. And to be fair, so will Adkins. Let's be honest about it. You've picked two people that despise the bastard, and no doubt after hearing his earlier spiel about the arrogance, how easy it's going to be, he's going to have more haters knocking on his door. So those are definitely two people that will want to see his demise. Paper, Persona 5 Royal, any look at this? Was it even on your list? Did you even know it existed? Or was this a bit of a blind spot?
It was a bit of a blind spot, this one. I didn't see this one coming at all. It's not on my list. I don't think at all.
Where's your data?
So, I guess, yeah. To be fair, Krog is one of those players that always performs well, and I probably would have been picking him next if he was still available. So for me, it's a bit of a that one's a bit sore, though. It's shame for me for leaving him so late in the draw to pick, because if you look at players that don't get the respect that they probably deserve, Krog's one of them. He's consistently scores high for the team game, not the team game. Sorry, for the individual league, and he does. He's solid for the team game. So he always, he's always getting those sort of like at least high 70s, and last year we got all 80s for the team game. So it's a bit sad that he's off. I've lost. I've two of my team from last year. On the opposite
I've
team.
lost already on the 2nd of January.
He's on the wobble already.
Don't bother tuning in for the rest of the year, folks. It's done.
I like the way Big Dad loaded up so much, getting loads of compliments, and that's why I was going to pick him third.
Exactly. I don't, I trust him, but not that much. But yeah, so to be fair, it's a good pick. It wasn't on my list. I'm just going to hope it gets delayed.
Okay. It's possible. It's already been out in Japan, hasn't got an open critic score. It's a US release, so really all it is a translation jobby. So
they can take years, that.
You never know. Trump might start a war. We might get bored of China and go, right, let's have a trade war with Japan, and then it might cost. Who knows? We'll see. But I think that's a great pick. And I was so surprised to see it on Logan's list. Of all the people, I thought, where's he plucked that from? But that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Paper, you're now left with the final team member pick. There's only two left. Who are you going to pick? And also, you've now got the responsibility of condemning someone to last pick, which doesn't have as big an impact as it usually does, because the draft order is different this year. But it is a black eye on their career to be picked last. And Biff, you've got many black eyes from this particular moment.
I've never been picked anything but last. It's the only position I've ever been picked.
So is it going to be Chappers or Parky?
Based on my data, I'm going to pick Parky this year. I'm going to see what Parky's about. No.
Let's read that. Based on my data of none of which you have of Parky, you're going to pick Parky. Even though we have no idea what he's like. We've confirmed he's not a rapist. That's all we know about him at the moment. But in terms of fantasy gaming league performance, we've not got a Scooby what this guy's offering. And you have hard data there of Chappers, and you've opted for Parky. Can you explain that?
Yeah.
Am I the only one not following this?
No, there is data, and
Go on.
What data is it?
So if you look at the way people scored last year, second from
and you're talking
last,
team game picks only here. You're not talking anything else.
Team game picks. Chappers was the lowest, apart from Hall, ranked, and so therefore, in terms of the two games he could have had, it had the lowest average. So I I go with Chappers and know that that's sort of what score he potentially is going to get, unless he's pulled something out the bag this year. I know he's quite up for it, and so maybe he's done a Logan and got another like Persona 5 or something like that.
Well, I was trying to have a shit earlier. He was asking me about facts. I was trying to wipe my arse, and I was getting it in the ear hole.
But Parky intrigues me. I don't. You know, he's like that you know that prostitute or that stripper you might see in the club. You think, oh. You know, if I pay a bit more, I might just see what they're like, and you know, I want to pay that bit of money for Parky to give me a lap dance. So,
you didn't pick Chappers, but Chappers comes second to last from to Hall, who you picked second, but you didn't want Loading, who come top, and you didn't pick him.
But I think Hall's got a real point to prove this year. So there's also a bit of you know, I just want your bosses to be on my side, Biff.
Right,
fair enough. Got both of them.
I mean,
rail company against Biff at the moment.
I found out that Parky got another job today, so I think he's working in a different company. So,
he might be tied up a lot. He might not have enough time to play around this silly buggers.
That's the worry.
Oh dear, inside information.
Yeah,
interesting. Would you have picked Parky, Biff? Was you in that situation?
I would have actually, if it was just Parky and Chappers, no offence to Parky, I love Parky, bloody good bloke, I would have actually gone for Chappers because he's done it before.
Right, and that goes against your whole, I need to know him jobby, because as far as I know, you've not spoken 2 words to Chappers either, and now he's getting picked.
I have.
So it's sort of like a paper contradiction. The pair of you are at it.
No, I was at...
Picking holes in this, logic!
I went to Hall Stag. He was at Hall Stag. Spoke to him a little bit. Speak to him in the Dimp group.
You've worked with Parky, he's your boss. How much more of a bond you need? Bonded over trains, for fuck's sake. Right. Let's get on with it. So, Paper, you've got Parky. Chappers gets the black eye. After all his effort he's been putting in, he's been the most active member of the Dimp group. He gets the last pick, so he's going to be fucking pleased when he listens to this.
I love you, Chappers.
Parky has given you Animal Crossing New Horizons, Paper.
God, shit. That is really shit.
Really? You don't like that?
Well, I just think it's, you know, Animal Crossing seems to be... I was looking at them and I was going to put it on my list, but if you look at previous games, some of them, Animal Crossing games on OpenCritic have scored in the 30s. So it's just a risk. Like, it could... I think it will probably be like a mid to low 70s. But Animal Crossing, I looked at the previous games and they were a risk, and so I left out for a reason. Now, right. I'm hoping Parker can prove me wrong here, and maybe he's got some better data than me, but, you know, questionable.
You're the data man, though. Surely you should have all this.
Is that, well, I have. That's what I've just given you. I've laid out the data.
It was bollocks, but he laid it out.
Yeah, we did lay it out, but we found out that's all nonsense. That's what we've discovered by that little spiel of shite. I actually think it was score right. I don't know, Biff, was that anywhere near your list? Animal Crossing, the Nintendo game, gets the Nintendo bump. Why are we all turning on them?
You made me pick 20 games and Animal Crossing weren't on mine, and I had to look through a few of the old ones, and like Piper said, they ain't scored well. So you never know. Right. Parky's no fool. He might know something, but it wouldn't have been one I'd pick.
Well, that's the end of that then, isn't it, I guess? So you've got Chappers, Biff.
Over the moon.
Oh, you said you would have had him anyway.
Exactly.
He's given you... This sounds like an early transfer to me.
Oh, Chappers.
Well, it's not because it's a bad game.
Okay.
You've been given Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. Now, Pillars of Eternity 2 is already out on PC. It's having a console release this year. So the balance for you will be... Is the console version going to get a separate OpenCritic page? Because if it doesn't, it ain't worth having. It won't score. So, a bit of a risk there, if I'm honest.
Okay. It's not ideal from Chappers, but... Well,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. I've never even heard of the game. I've no clue what it is. He obviously knows it, so he's picked it. So I'm hoping it will get its own page and then we'll mop up.
Yeah. That was his number 4 pick, by the way. So it was low down his list. He had other stuff above it. And that's been flushed. Paper Parky's pick, Animal Crossing New Horizons, was number 2. So he's going to end up with that regardless.
Crikey, number 2. There was all those games in... Wow.
You had the data there.
Yeah, no, but
data.
You chose to choose a black hole with no data, and now complaining about it.
I'm not. It could score well. Out of curiosity, what did Pillars or whatever it was called score on the PC on Open Critic?
I can look it up quickly. I don't know if you two can manage to talk amongst yourselves, because we had this exact conversation before I started this.
Well, it's there.
89.
I see it scored well, so I can see where Chappers is doing. Like, if it scores, even if it scores 6 or 7 points less, you're still in the 80s, and you've got a new game there. But if it does just go on to the existing one, then actually you don't lose anything. You just got to transfer it out, because it's not like it's come out and got a low score. It's just not got a score.
No.
So
you've been a component in the past of risk it for a biscuit. Like
exactly.
Lock it in so it's yours, and if it don't work out, you take 5 points and get something else in.
Exactly.
Oh, that's not too bad then. That's all right. I didn't know that. I thought we just scored nothing. So basically, we don't.
No.
Oh, right, sweet.
You've still got transfers like you did in the individual. This is all a live game. Otherwise, it'll be over by April. Seriously, we tried it before, and it's hard because games are shit at coming out on time. So that's why we have 3 transfer windows. That is the case for the team game as well as the individual game. Little 5-point penalty. But if you actually made the least amount of transfers last year, and you only made 1, and that's because you had a blank in your team because you didn't give me a list big enough to fill the games that were left. So had you not done that, you would never have made a sub. I don't think you was even going to bother, was you? You sort of got all your games up front and dealt with it.
Yeah, the only worry was that Shenmue 3, I think. I think that was the only...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it scored like dog shit, really, anyway.
Yeah.
It was enough to scrape you over the line, but that's life. So we've got 4 games on each team. Biff, you've got The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Persona 5 Royal, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. How are you feeling about that?
I'm really happy because I think I've got a feeling that Persona and Last of Us will be 90s. So even if the other 2 are 70s...
They may have made up a difference of an 80s.
Yeah, that's the average. So at the moment, I'm very happy.
Paper, you've got Resident Evil 3, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and then Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yeah, I to be fair, I depending when Animal Crossing comes out. I've not got a date.
Early doors.
Yeah, so that's not
before the first
transferable.
transfer windowed.
Okay, so you can get
trying
away
to get rid of it
with
already.
Yeah, to be fair, the first 3 games are spot on, everything I wanted. Animal Crossing, I will take. I've got no choice, but I'll have.
Yeah.
And I even if it doesn't score so well, I don't think it'll be as low as like the 30s as what some of the Open Critic scores says. But I like to always try and get games in, and I think there's plenty of games on that's still to be picked that we're going to score easily 80 plus. And I just think Animal Crossing is a bit of a risk, though it could prove people wrong because they haven't had a good game for a while, or a big game out there for a while, and people could come back and absolutely fall in love with it. Some of these games do quite well, like Stardew Valley and stuff like that people just don't really expect, and then just come along and go bang. There's a high 80s for you.
Looking at both rosters so far, would you rather have your roster, Paper, or Biff's? And you can say what you want, but what would you rather have?
Honestly, so Biff I would rather, at this moment in time, have my roster. And the reason because...
I want to hear this reason, because I'm imagining there's some sort of fucking black hole data.
Let him just check the data and he'll give you the reasons.
Get Stephen Hawkins in, he'll check the fucking data for us, and then he'll run it through the fucking algorithm and we'll be done.
The reason being is in my team at the moment, I've got 3 games that are on my list. In Biff's team, I'd only have 2 games that are on my list. And so therefore, even if it goes wrong, I can feel like, well, I would have picked those games anyway.
Right.
So that's the reasoning behind it. So at least I still feel like, well, I would have picked these games. So actually, it still feels more on my head rather than, leaving it on just, other people's brains.
So if this ends up being, you don't defend your title... Basically, what you said there is it would have been your fault anyway. You can't even blame your team members. Like Hall was banged to rights because he picked Anthem and then picked a blank. You'll be in a similar situation now if you don't pull this out the bag.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? The players can go on strike and then the manager gets sacked. So, it's the game. It's the name of the game. I can't get on the pitch and perform for them. They need to do some of the work themselves.
Well, we'll see. Well, let's move into the second round because this is where it can get a little bit interesting because the games on selection are not there anymore. We go back to you, Paper. You picked Adcock first. Now, Mr. Adcock himself has landed you Dragon Ball Z, or Z, but it's called Z, even though it's Z in English language. Kakarot.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
So this is an early doors game as well. I saw this.
Yeah. You won't be transferring that one out either.
No, it's one of those things. And it's low, very low down my list. But the reason for me having it low is because it could score really well. I just don't know. My worry is there's a lot of Dragon Ball Z is a very hyped up thing at the moment, just in the community and all the memeing and all that type of stuff. And so my worry is I just hope they haven't made a game just to try and appeal to the current Dragon Ball Z audience that are just loving the anime at the moment. Now, if they've done a really good job of it, then it's going to score well because people really like Dragon Ball Z at the moment. But, it has one of those ones because the audience is so in love with that anime, if it doesn't live up to what they want it to be, it could struggle. And so it could go either way, this one. It's either going to score a decent score or it's going to, get, 60.
So, Biff, you showed me a version of your list a week ago or so. I remember seeing this on there, Dragon Ball Fighter Z Kakarot. How have you even got wind of this? Or is it because I know in 2018 you was one of the only people on your entire list to have Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Fighters, and that scored an 86 for you. That was a fighting game. So have you just looked at your previous good efforts with Dragon Ball and had that on your list for that reason?
No, basically, if you look at the fighting games that Dragon Ball do, they normally score pretty well.
It ain't a fighting game, but it's not on your team, so you ain't got to worry.
No, but even ones that weren't the fight, they normally score quite well. It's quite a big franchise, Dragon Ball Z. It might not be huge in anime, but I know in America and in Japan it's massive, so it's sort of quite a big thing for them. So they make sure the game comes out as well and it's well done. So that was I think that was fifth on my list.
Cool,
so,
that's high.
I did want that one. I think that'll score well. Can I just quickly ask, when do me and Piper get our second picks?
Right at the end, you get the last 3 picks each.
Oh, right, gotcha. No worries. All right.
I mean, again, if you'd listened to any of the hours that I toil away on to make entertainment for 6 other people on YouTube, then you would know that. But obviously, I'm sitting here listening to it myself. I'm actually racking up the views on replay. That's what
it's worth noting about Dragon Ball Z as well that there was rumours not that long ago that Disney was going to buy it out. So that's how popular it's gotten at the moment. Yeah. So it is it's very much loved, that franchise. I know people don't want Disney to buy it, but you never know.
I'll say, look what they've done to Star Wars, Biff.
Well, exactly. Don't talk.
He fucking hates them. That's what they've done. So I guess the counter to this Kakarot that Adcock's given you, Paper, and this is what you've got, Biff. You've got Adkins, one of the fucking Tomei brothers. He's stuck with his guns. We know he loves PlayStation. Those PlayStation exclusives have been goldmine for him.
If this
other than Days
Ghosts
Gone.
of Tsushima, I'm going to be over the moon with Adkins.
He has given you Crash Bandicoot. No, he's given you Ghosts of Tsushima.
Right,
so
Adkins, well done.
You're happy with that then? Number 5, that's quite low, but I think it's a little bit of an unknown.
I think that's my second pick.
Right.
So I've got a feeling. My only concern is it won't come out. That's my only thing.
Mate, PlayStation 5 minimum.
Well,
innit?
Let's hope so. But I've got a feeling that game will be like a God of War sort of score. I've got a feeling it'll be really good. So I'm over the moon with Adkins. Well done.
So it's developed by Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch's last game was released on August the 26th, 2014. It was a PlayStation 4 exclusive. It was Infamous First Light. No, it wasn't Infamous First Light. It was Infamous something else. Second Son.
Second Son, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't released on that day. I fucking caught that up. But the reason why I wanted to go towards that is because that was March 21st, 2014. That makes more sense. Infamous Second Son got itself an 82, and you're now putting out your arse that it's going to get God of War type figures. Where are you getting that from?
I think it will. I've just seen the gameplay. I just think it looks decent. I don't know. I've got just a hunch. That's all it is.
Okay.
And I trust my hunches.
Would you rather have that or Dragon Ball?
I'd rather have
Dragon Ball's eye up.
No, I'd rather have Ghost of Tsushima. You don't believe me, but honestly, I would. I really would.
Where is it on your list?
So Ghost of Tsushima second. I've got Last of Us 2.
Right.
Ghost of Tsushima. That's how high it is.
Yeah. All right. I'll believe you for a little bit. I'll let you off. Back to you, Paper. This is Hall's pick now.
Yep.
Any worries about the dilution of brains with Hall?
No, because there's one game that I've got on my list that I know is going to be relatively high in his. So it's either that game or it's got to be better. That's my theory.
I think he's got what you're after because this is a game that he went after last year.
Yeah,
he was expecting it to come out last year. They said it was coming out last year. Then Phil Spencer comes out and goes, it ain't coming out this year. It's Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Exactly.
Is that the game you were thinking of?
Yeah, that's exactly. And it's on my list. It's sitting there like mid-table. I knew that would be somewhere on Hall's. Actually, I knew that'd be somewhere on Hall's list. So once again, it will score reasonably well. I think you can never know. You can use it come drops, but it's one of those games that you look at, and they delayed it. I like the fact when companies delay games, pure fact that it can't be that shit. It's just that they're trying to make it that bit better because they now know how bad some games, like they look at things like Anthem and Fallout 76 and how much of an impact that's had on those companies that they'd rather now go, right, actually let's pull this away and make sure it is what we're going to sell and what people are going to like. So they've done the right thing. I'm happy that's on my list.
Ori and the Blind Forest, which the Will of the Wisp is a follow-up to, Xbox/Microsoft games exclusive. That scored itself. It's actually on Switch now. That scored itself an 89, which is a fucking good get at number 6. Really, in reality. Biff, was this game anywhere near your list, or do you condemned it to poorness? No,
that was quite high. I think I had that at 6 or 7. So yeah, I did want that, but yeah, it's a good game. I think I've not played it, but I have heard the other one was meant to be pretty decent, and like you say, it scored well. So if it follows anything on from that, you're laughing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Logan's obviously the man who's going up against Hall in this sort of second round, number 6 game jobby. So his counterpunch to that is Minecraft Dungeons.
I don't even know what. I've never heard of it, so I don't.
Paper, are you going to help us out here? Because I saw that on several lists.
It looks like a little dungeon type crawler that's done in sort of like the graphics of Minecraft. So it's like a completely different game. It's not like an add-on or a thing to Minecraft. It's its own separate game. It's just one of those things. Minecraft works so well as Minecraft. The offshoots don't seem to ever do so well. You look at what I don't know. I'm guessing here that the Telltale Minecraft series didn't do so well, but it looked pants. It might have scored well. I don't know, but I just feel like Minecraft belongs at being Minecraft. The offshoots are diluted down pieces of turd. So I'm glad this backs up now. Logan being third on my list.
Cool.
God. And he countered that, Biff, or do you agree with the sentiment of what he's trying to say? That's no good.
I mean, I don't know what it will score, but Logan's done well with Persona 5. So if that scores, 90s, even if he scores this with a high 60s, low 70s, as long as it scores, his average will be pretty decent. So
Sounds like transfer fodder to me. That's what the translation from that manager is.
I worry with this. You say it a lot. You keep going. Oh, it's going to be. He's going to get these 90s. Never bank on 90s. That's what I've learned over the years. 80s, and then you're playing it safe.
Well,
We'll see how it pans out. The 80s with the 90s, sort of 2 decades clashing. Both born in the 80s, so no good. Parky, final pick for you, Paper.
Yeah.
Before you start getting your last 3 games in. He's gone for another interesting one. I think, well, it's going to go one or 2 ways. Pretty good or poor. It's Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Okay. Yeah,
so
it's one or the other, isn't it? It's you know what do you know what the release date is for that? I don't know if it is off the top of my head.
It just says worldwide. I mean, it's supposed to be. It's released in Japan in January, so it's not out in Japan yet. And then it'll be translated to English, which is probably where the Open Critic reviews will come in. But it has no date, so it's another one of those translation jobbies like the Persona one. Yeah,
and so to be fair, some of these Japanese games, you know, that do go through that process of being translated, usually score generally pretty well on Open Critic. I think it would do all right. We could play this one quite cleverly as well. I just need Parky to start learning some Japanese and start reading up their reviews, and we can then just get it out if it looks like it's performing badly. Equally, you know, if there's issues that you'd hope that they'd be fixed before they come out to the Western market. So, you know, it's generally a decent pick. You know, for you know, game what we on to now 7. That's not bad for a number 7. I would have had that. I would have rated that higher than Animal Crossing personally, but you know, I'm not. Was
either on your list?
No.
Well,
so if it all goes downhill, I'm blaming Parky. That's now my get out of jail card.
Poor old Parky. First time in, he's already getting that sort of pressure slammed onto his shoulders. Biff, was this on your list anyway? Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's a reboot of the Yakuza series. It's going from action-based battle system to a Final Fantasy historic one, as in, you know, turn-based.
No, it wasn't on my list. I've not played any of the Yakuza games. I think you have. I remember you telling me one of them was pretty decent, but
excellent.
Yeah,
but it wasn't turn-based.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see what the scores say, basically.
Absolutely. Well, we will see what happens with Yakuza Like a Dragon. We'll see how that people take to that, or whether it even gets translated in time. It might be one of those jobbies. But we go to the 7th pick for you, Mr. Biff, and it's Chappers. The last pick. Needn't we remind people over and over again, the black eye of the Fantasy Gaming League. He's given you something I think is a little bit of a gift at this stage.
Cool.
Because its predecessor scored pretty high. It's got a little niche-ish market, which means you don't get all the took reviewing it.
Oh, I hope it's not what I think it's going to be.
It's Neo 2.
Mm.
So Neo was a Souls-like kind of rip-offy type game from Team Ninja. That scored an 88 back in 2017. So you're going to get the follow-up to that, Neo 2.
Yep, that's decent then. I mean, it's not on my list, but again, Chapper's other game wasn't on my list, so just trust in Chappers, you know, and he will provide. Fingers crossed.
March the 14th, 2020, it's coming out.
That should come out, definitely, shouldn't it? That shouldn't be getting delayed till 2021.
And a lot of people like Neo. It's basically playing towards that From Software crowd that like Dark Souls, that like Bloodborne, that like Sekiro. And now this is their second stab at that. And you kind of think, will they improve upon it? And if the same people are reviewing it, you could be looking at a high 80s. And at number 7, that could prove invaluable.
Yeah.
Paper, bitter blow or not?
Yeah, it was sitting at number 7 on my list, that game. I think... so I think my pick of Parky is over Chappers. The data hasn't worked out to.
There weren't any fucking data. That's what we've been saying.
So I feel that Chappers has proven his worth there. I think, yeah, like you said, it's a bit nichey. It's one of those ones that, you know, I think even if it doesn't score as well as the first, because obviously that was new and stuff like that, it will still get you an 80, 81, 82, something like that. So I think at 7th pick, you're right. It's seventh pick. That's a bit of a gem.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Chappers is giving you a little bit of a gift there, Biff. So we're going to move into the next phase, which is the captain's pick. They've got 3 more left. Biff will go first as he chose to have first game, so he will be going first, then Paper, and we'll go until we get to the end. Just a quick recap of the teams. So Biff, you've got The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Persona 5 Royal, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, Ghosts of Tsushima, Minecraft Dungeons, and Neo 2. Now, off the top of your head, anything there you'd be thinking of transferring out come March when the transfer window opens?
Maybe that Minecraft Dungeons, maybe. That's the only one that's the concern.
Right, so Long Arms is getting it in the fucking dick again. Unbelievable, poor bastard. Paper, you've got Resident Evil 3, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
Stunned silence.
Yeah. No, I think I was just counting up there. So I think I've got like 6 things that were on my list. And I think comparisons to Biff's list, there was only 3 things there that were on my list. So, you know, it's one of those ones I would rather people be picking games that are on my list than not on my list, because then I feel a bit more ownership over it. So for me,
you were trying to blame Parky a minute ago.
Saying,
it's all my fault.
He was the one that was, you know, against the rule. Everyone else played to the rule. So yeah, no, I'll still blame Park if it all goes pear shaped. But, you know, I think we're all right. I think there's some good games there. Even if Parky scores both hundreds, I'll still be blaming him.
Well, he's going to get the blame whatever happens. So Biff, we move into your technically your second pick, because you know, you've had your first pick, but we're obviously down at number 8 now. So a lot of games have gone. Your list is probably getting thinned out. I know you was worrying about how many games you needed and all that garbage. As long as you've got 20, you'll be fine. But what is going to be your second captain's pick, which will slot in at number 8 in your team?
I'm just looking at my list now, just thinking what I could go for. I'm going to go for Super Meat Boy Forever.
Super Meat Boy Forever.
Yeah.
What on earth are you playing at?
What? When is that's not even on any list, is it?
Well, it's coming out at some point, we'd assume, but we don't know when. I want to know what he's thinking about here.
Well, basically, the other one done really well, and then I thought this one's going to come out and hopefully do as well. So that was the logic behind it. I've never played it, but I just saw it done quite well.
Super Meat Boy Forever is the game that Adcock got one year, and it cost him. So concerning a little bit for that, I think. I think it was 2018 when he tried that, or maybe 2019, I can't remember. But Super Meat Boy Original was an 83. So that's a decent-ish score to get at 8. Is there any data to support that game exists still? Have you just seen it on?
I just saw it was coming out in 2020. It said early 2020.
Well, it's Paper. It sounds like it wasn't on your list, so you've got a free pick in your brain here.
Yeah, see, this is why I wanted person over game with Biff, because, you know, it's getting down to later on in the days, loads of games have been picked, he's going to struggle, and I think that sort of proved it. If that there's a good chance. See, I'm reading here on Steam, and I appreciate it might not come out on Steam first, but the planned release date is 2021 for Steam, so so, you know, that's a worry already.
Well, could be a disaster then, but I'll keep my eye on it.
It can be transferred out, as we know, but we'll see. We'll see. Paper, what's going to be your 8th pick, and by virtue your second sort of manager's pick?
Yeah,
captain.
There's so many games that haven't been picked yet. It's quite astonishing, and I've got games here near the top of my list which I don't think will be on Biff's list. So I'm going to go for a next one, which I think will score quite well. Axiom Verge 2.
Axiom Verge 2. Now, I did see that on, I think it was a Dr. Adcock list. Yes, it was. So, Axiom Verge 2. Do you even know what the game is? Got any clue? You just seen that it's a sequel and its first one did all right.
That's pretty much how most of my data goes. But it's just recently there's that was a good part of it. But you look at the style in the game's done as well. It's sort of like that 2D 8-bit sort of graphics. These games tend platformy. These games, if done right, tend to score generally pretty well. And off the back of success of the number one, if they can do that, and it's one of those ones as well that has got that niche-ish audience, could score. As I said, it's one of those ones I'd look at and think you're probably on for an 80. If they put a few bolts and nuts in that make it go even better, then you're looking at the high 80s there. So I can't see that one being messed up.
No, I mean, it's funny you should say. Like I said, it's on Adcock's list. I'm not sure if it's anyone else's list, but he's been playing things like Celeste, which fall sort of into that category, sort of old school 2D, modern type spins on that. And he's been enjoying those, and they have been scoring well. And we look at something like Shovel Knight, which is probably the first of those in modern times that really blew up and set this off for people. So no reason why Axiom Verge 2 won't perform and be on there. Biff, I'm assuming you weren't even aware that existed.
No. No.
Although, to be fair, look, if we look at Super Meat Boy and Axiom Verge 2, there's a comparison to be drawn there. 2D platformy type games. So you're not a million miles away, Biff.
Well, we'll find out. I'm just trying to read on Super Meat Boy, and it's not looking good.
It might be an immediate -5 points.
Yeah.
It worked for him last year.
Well, that's true, but he made the least amount of transfers out of everyone. Had Chappers not made as many transfers, he would have won. So there's sort of stats coming out now. Biff, number 9. What's going to be your number 9 pick? Maybe you've run out of games. Maybe you'd have 2 blanks sitting here.
Super Meat Boy 3.
Put it in.
I'm going to go for Dying Light 2.
Interesting. Now, what I would say about Dying Light, I played the original a hell of a lot with Adkins. You played it as well, actually, didn't you, Biff?
Yeah, good game.
It was a good game, yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit of a breath of fresh air, and it was a bit messy, but for what it was great. The thing about Dying Light is I remember the reason why I didn't pick up on release is because the reviews weren't that great.
Oh.
73. Not disgraceful, not WWE 2K20 levels, but not something you go, I need to get that day one. So any confidence that Techland can convert that 73 into perhaps an 83, which I guess is what you're looking for at this stage.
Yeah, I reckon that they would have got their fingers burnt first time around and thought, don't make that same mistake.
It sold very well, though. So they basically got paid to do a poor job, according to the critics.
Bitter critics is what I'd say to that.
Paper, was that anywhere on your list, Dying Light 2?
Yeah.
Bottom of the barrel,
it was on the list just to recognise it, but it it's one of those ones I probably would have, if I had to put it in, I would do it because you're going to score because there's going to be enough people to review it. But as you're right, Dying Light 1 didn't score that well. It's sort of the thing. I don't know. It's just me personally. I think the zombie genre is just a bit overdone at the moment as well, or that type of thing. And so, like, I don't know whether people are getting a bit bored of it. We'll see.
I think they were bored 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Zombies, but
first pick with The Last of Us 2, the zombie genre.
Very true.
Again, the date I'm not clouting up.
Paper, what's going to be your 9th pick?
So I'm going to play. You'll see a bit of a trend here going, a bit like Axiom Verge 2. I'm going to go for Carrion. Carrion? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, CARRION.
Yeah.
Now, I have played the sneak preview demo of this.
Oh, have you?
It was available for 48 hours on Steam, and then I think it was available later on during some Steam sale. Can you remember? And what I would say about it is I enjoyed it because you basically play as the predator / sort of the survival horror monster.
Yep.
imagine playing as the xenomorph in Alien. It's not a xenomorph, but you're like this organism that grows and you kill people and you go through the level. So I enjoyed my time with it. What I would say is it was a bit clumsy.
Yeah, I can imagine it. I've watched plays of it where you're off shooting your like little bits of rope or whatever's coming off your thing, and it looks a bit like it could be a bit too where you're that little fucking jello thing that falls over. It could be a bit hard to negotiate around, but it's done in that sort of 2D style, sort of same as sort of Super Meat Boy Axiom sort of platform type game. Once again, it's gonna have a niche market. I think, and actually, to be honest, that sort of makes me feel a bit better that they're actually putting it out there for people to play test it and feedback and stuff like that. So you hope that that's going to improve. And if you're enjoying it, that's generally a good sign.
I enjoy games that the critics don't like typically.
Wow, don't be saying that now.
Well, that's just inside baseball for you. Biff, I'm assuming again you was unaware of this game existing.
Yeah, never heard of it.
And showing the depth of his knowledge here, but if he wins it, then more power to him. Biff, your final pick to round out your roster, number 10. It's getting difficult now.
Yeah.
How many games you got left on your list? Or are you down to one? You got no option?
No, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games left.
Cool.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I'm just
be interested to go through them later.
Picking.
So they're not in any sort of order?
Yeah, they are in order.
But you're second guessing the
order.
Yeah,
I'm after the Super Meat Boy, it's all gone tits up.
That's just our opinion. It's not my opinion. Shouldn't be taken into account. Don't listen to Paper because he's trying to put you off your game.
Well, I was looking at the internet's opinion and it's sort of agreed with you. I'm going to go for Marvel Avengers.
You know what? Holy shit! I can't believe that hasn't been picked yet.
Yeah, it's one of those ones.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Wow. I completely forgot that game existed. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But
that sounds pretty bad. I totally forgot the game even existed.
No, the reason why is because I've spoken about this before. It's because the whole Marvel hype culminated with the Endgame, and it's going to be 18 months after that's released where it's all died down. Like, it's not in the forefront of my brain at the moment, Marvel, because it's done as far as I'm concerned. But
I'm hoping that the game will be decent and that Disney will make sure it's decent so that it gets hyped up again, because there's another phase of Marvel films coming out, isn't there? And I think that will keep the fires burning. So that's my thinking behind it. Because if it's a flop and it's terrible to play, there'll be a lot of annoyed Disney children out there moaning. So
there will be. Yeah, I mean, 15th of May release date. So it's sort of in that middle stage. It can be moved if needs be, and you've got a bit of time. You could bin it off if you needed to. Square Enix publishing it, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal developing it. Both got good pedigree in terms of the Tomb Raider games and Deus Ex. There's just something about that game I don't like, and I can't put my finger on it. It might be because I'm just soured on Marvel. It could just be that.
Right, okay.
So, just be aware that I'm not Marvel's biggest fan. They've ruined cinema in a way, as Adkins calls it. But Marvel Avengers, I never thought I'd see that as a number 10 pick. I really thought that would be in someone else's list further up, but it's yours to have as long as you want to keep it. Paper, was that anywhere on your list, or do you just got rid of it and thought, well, it's a bit high budget, a bit of a blow?
I looked at it and I didn't put it on my list. I worry it's not got Spider-Man in it, for one. You've got people like Captain America, we're going to throw around a shield. You've got Iron Man, which is going to flow around. Thor is just going to throw around his bloody hammer.
Thor will be Kratos out of God of War, 94 or whatever it got.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's 5 characters to play in this game. And, it only takes one character to be shit for everyone to be like, well, all of them were great, but Black Widow, that was a bit shit. She was. So it's
won't score it badly because of one character. If the game was phenomenal and it had a great story, and they went, 4 characters are 10 out of 10, but one of them's not very good, they're not going to go, let's shit over the game. No,
but they will score it lower. Is what I'm saying, and they're not all going to be 10 out of 10, are they? Let's be honest. You can see Iron Man just being this floating mess. It's I don't know. It's
Where's he getting this information from?
I'm just looking at a
You
picture
can
of the
see
car.
Iron Man being a floating mesh.
Iron Man,
That's
the
club
floating mesh.
2020.
I just don't know. It just there's. I think it's like you, apps. There's something about it that I can't put my
Yeah.
finger on. That just to me, just think I just don't want to waste my time with that game. I don't know what it is. It's just something about it that I think just won't appeal. I feel like, once again, they've got to deal with the hype of the movie. And if you're not playing like it would be in the movie, then you're like, well, I'd just rather watch the movie than just play someone that's like, a sluggy Iron Man.
Well, there you go. Well, Marvel Avengers is Biff's 10th pick. He's gone for high budget. He's gone for well known. Let's see how that pans out. Paper, your final pick.
Yeah.
How many games have you got left at this stage on your list?
1, 2, 3, 4. I would say like ones I'd probably pick, and 2 which are risky for a bisky. So it's so 6 in total. But there's some games that, and Biff's got a lot left as well. I'm surprised, but I'm looking at some of the stuff that's not been picked on my list. So I'm just surprised no one else has put on theirs.
Right.
Do you want me to list some now? I'm the last.
Well, you can do, yeah. If you're happy to reveal your list, and,
So I'll
then
leave.
Biff will be like, oh no, I didn't get that.
I'll leave the one I'm going to pick to the last. But like you've got, if you want to risk it, you can probably put Breath of the Wild 2 or the new Zelda game, because like Pokemon, that came out late in the year, load improved right last year. That will score well. You got Tokyo and Mileage Sessions. FE Encore, once again a bit of a risk, but once again could score well. I'm surprised no one's put Watch Dogs Legion in there, because that's, to me, in my head, that's going to be better than Avengers, and I fucking hate Watch Dogs games. You've got,
but it's set in London, Paper.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But he did say in his head, so that means fuck all, basically, is what he's saying there.
Watch Dogs 2 got an 82.
Yeah, true.
It's a
It will
decent
score
for 10.
well, and they're bringing a whole new concept to the game where you can take people in and stuff like that. I feel like they're
What
really.
if that ends up being a cock up the arse?
Yeah, it could be, or it could work. It could be.
Yeah.
People could look at Cyberpunk and feel like, actually, I want Watch Dogs Legions 2 could be the better of that and Cyberpunk. I don't know. It's just got that thing about it. There's a bit of hype around Legion.
No way.
Well, we'll see.
Different leagues.
You've got things like Halo Infinite. No one's picked. Surprised again.
Yep.
It's one of those games that will score you well. You've got
surely a release title for Xbox One Series X or whatever they're calling it.
Exactly. The one I'm really surprised, and I'm sort of still debating in my head whether to put it in or not, but I think I'm not going to. That I'm surprised no one picked was the Half-Life Alyx game.
Yeah.
Once again, everyone's dying for the game, but it could. No one really knows what it's going to be like, so I can understand why that hasn't been picked. So there were some of the games that didn't make it. The one I'm going to pick is a massive gamble, and so I'm rolling the dice here, and I feel okay to roll the dice because I've seen Biff's picks at the end. So I'm going to pick New World. The Amazon exclusive MMO that's coming out in
New World, it's called.
New World.
Amazon. This is the Lumberjack made game for Amazon. Yeah. Good lord.
It's an MMO, and the reason
you were waffling about this in the group, weren't you?
Yeah. So the reason I'm a little bit hyped about it, and I play.
Letting personal feelings get in the way. I think you might have got him.
See, this is it with this game. MMO games. Like,
your bread and butter now.
Yeah, exactly. But we've been starved of a really good MMO for what feels like years. The last good one.
Do you know why that is, Paper?
Because not that many people play them, and they're not as profitable.
No. Loads of people play them, but the mechanics that were built to work in MMOs are 15 years old, and you'll never make a game that's got God of War like mechanics in an MMO because no one can do it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what the people that play MMOs are not looking for God of War mechanics. People are quite happy.
No.
So
that's why you don't make it any new, because it's so far backwards in game development. No one's interested.
Yeah, but there are parts in it.
Phil Dave annoyed about the rape claims, annoyed about the small bollocks, and now he's going to be annoyed about the MMO slag. I can tell. I think he's got this far.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised if Dave's listening. I just think there's
be out of the group by now.
Yeah,
he might have left.
I just think there's something about this game that there's been quite a lot of hype that hasn't been around for an MMO for quite a while. And actually, even MMOs that you probably have never heard of, like Black Desert Online and stuff like that.
I've heard of that. All
right. Well, score.
Tell me what I haven't heard of. I've heard of everything.
Score well on OpenCritic. And
Yeah,
so
true.
and so you
Because they give it to people that play MMOs,
exactly,
so they enjoy
and
it.
so that people not going to want to review it unless they played 100 odd hours as well.
Yep.
So you're not going to get your fucking Joe Bollocks fucking Marvel Avengers fucking, I'm going to play my 10 minutes and do my review guy. You're going to get the sort of what I call the real MMO gamers play it. So they've been spending a lot of time on this. They've been doing a lot of beta testing and alpha testing. And there's some real game mechanics that MMO people are screaming out for, like world versus world, like siege mechanics and stuff like that, where you basically going to defend your castle and stuff like that against other people that just turn up in the map, and they can all this type of stuff that people are really quite excited about. So I just think there's something about it that even if it, Black Desert Online gets slagged a lot by the MMO community because it's all pay to win and stuff like that. Even if it gets slagged, but it's still scored well. I think the same will be said for New World.
You say that Black Desert Online's at a 71.
Well, that's above
On
70.
OpenCritic.
Is that this is where my data's gone crit.
71 OpenCritic. That's below your 80 target.
Yeah. There's something. Is that for the PS4 version or for the PC version?
PC, that is.
Wow, I'm walking away from this conversation then.
I've sat there talk for 5 minutes to turn up with a fucking 71. Fucking hell, Paper.
It's coming out later as well. It's not. I think it's like May time.
Right. So, Paper. This is another thing I was going to ask you. Is it coming out, or is it going to be alpha, beta, that sort of area?
No, it's coming out. So it's been doing all the.
So it's going to get reviewed.
It will get reviewed, yeah, because it's done all the alpha and betas and stuff all at the moment. That's what it's doing at the moment. So, or it's just been doing. It's been doing actually for like the last sort of 6 or 7 months. So it's.
When's it coming out?
What?
When's it coming out? What's the date?
1 second. I'll just let me Google. It's
2023.
What? It's not 2023.
Well, there's black holes in this data everywhere. Blind spots.
It's May this year. Yeah, May 2020.
It's not data. It's like he's pulling the answers from a fucking globe or doing tarot
Just Google. All you have to do is Google New World release date, and it's the first thing that pops up on Google.
A lot of Googling tonight. But I'll be interested to see whether you lose your bollocks over that one and transfer it out.
Well, it's one of those ones. It's a bit like Shamu 3. I always put it in my roster, and then I didn't have the bollocks in the end to see it through.
Did you just say Shamu?
Yeah, it's like the whale.
Right. As long as you know, I thought you thought it was actually called the whale Shamu 3, but no worries.
Bloody Nora. Right, Biff, here is your final roster. Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Persona 5 Royal, Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, Ghosts of Tsushima, Minecraft Dungeons, Neo 2, Super Meat Boy Forever, Dying Light 2, and Marvel Avengers. How happy out of 10 are you with that?
Yeah, I reckon. Well, ask me in 12 months' time, but yeah, I reckon that'll be pretty decent as long as everything comes out. That's my biggest concern. But I don't think there's going to be many games there that will score particularly low. I'm fairly happy with everything there.
So you mentioned you had 8 games that you hadn't got on your list. Do you mind reeling off those 8 games if you've got them in front of you? I just want to hear what you had and hasn't made the cut.
So one of them was a DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3 called Remind.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
No, seen
that.
I was thinking about doing that, but then I bottled it. I had Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Yep.
A game called Traits of Mana. I don't know where I got that from.
Trials of Mana.
Trials of Mana, that's the one.
Yeah. Give me Traits of Mana, you'd have not had anything. They don't exist.
One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows.
Yeah.
That's based on an anime thing. FIFA 21, Halo Infinite,
Yep.
Doom 64.
Yes.
And a game called Predator Hunting Grounds, but I was really scraping the barrel last minute, so I just thought I'd chuck that in. But I don't think that will do well at all.
I would love for Predator Hunting Grounds to be great. One person plays as the Predator, 4 of you play as the Marines. I mean, how good would that be if it worked?
Yeah, but there's been so many Predator games that have come out that everyone wants to do well, and they've all been pretty shit, haven't they, really?
Correct. Anything from Paper's list? I mean, we're going to go through it now. Resident Evil 3, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy 7, Animal Crossing, Dragon Ball Z, Will o' the Wisps, Ori, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Axiom Verge 2, Carry On New World. Any of those that you would swap into your team?
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
had the chance?
yeah. Dragon Ball Z, Doom Eternal,
Right.
and Resident Evil 3. I think are the three ones I wanted.
You weren't interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I don't know. I think that turn-based combat thing. It's on my list. Don't get me wrong, but it weren't in the top. I think it was not.
You wouldn't be risking 5 points for it, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I don't. I think that turn-based combat is a big deal, and I think that will upset a lot of people. So we will see. But yeah, definitely Doom Eternal, Resident Evil 3, and that Dragon Ball Z. They're all things that I was looking after.
Interesting. Paper that we've read out your list. What do you think overall that you've got there? Because you've got Parky, who was the blind spot. You sounded like you were going to blame the whole failure of the operation on him. What's going on in Les Champions HQ? Because it sounds like it's panic stations.
You know what, there is no panic stations until games start dropping. It's
Once you get that first 60 in your roster, you realise you're fucked.
That's when you start panicking, when you get the 60s. And so there's games in there that weren't on my list. Doesn't mean to say that they won't score well, because there's games that will score 90 plus that are not on either anyone's list. That happens like Disco Asylum last year. But no fuck had it on their list. So it's not to say that that games won't score well. I Animal Crossing, I'm a bit dubious about, because I looked at it and I pulled it out of my list. But apart from that, it's like every other thing I'm okay with. Even actually for Animal Crossing, I think if a game's looking at Biff's list, I feel like if I can score 75 plus, I think I'll be okay on an average.
Is there anything on his list that you'd have off?
Yeah, like Last of Us Part 2 was top of my list.
Right.
Cyberpunk would have been nice, but actually it's one of the ones I'm quite happy not to have as well. Like, it's one of the ones you feel like you should put in your list, but also I was quite relieved when it wasn't. The other
pressure.
The other one I really would have liked was Neo 2, which was Chap's pick. So Chaps did well there, I thought, for Game 7. So I'm okay with the teams. If you look at Biff's team, there's 4 of his games in his list that were on my list. In my list, there's 7 that were on my list. So I feel more comfortable with that.
We'll see how it all pans out. Because of the way that that's the team game done. Because of the way we've operated the individual game, previously all of the draft picks, as in who goes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, was determined by the captains or the managers. Because last year we had a full year's worth of data, what I decided to do was take an average of people's score, excluding blanks and excluding transfers, and everyone's been arranged into that order for the individual league. So this is the solo league that you two aren't a part of, but I'm going to run through everyone's games. I was able to do this up front because everyone provided their list, so we've got a rare insight into what is going down. So the order is Logan, followed by Chappers, followed by Adkins, followed by Sir Dave, who's not in it, so we cut him from it, followed by Hall, followed by Adcock, and poor Parky goes in last because he didn't have a score last year. That's just the sort of bullshit he's got to contend with. So I'm going to run through Logan's 10 games and see what you guys think very quickly. So Logan's got his first pick's Resident Evil 3. His second pick is Persona 5 Royal. His third pick is Minecraft Dungeons. His fourth pick is, surprise, surprise, Football Manager 2021. His next pick is 12 Minutes. Then he's got Halo Infinite. Then he's got Rainbow Six Quarantine, Bleeding Edge, Godfall, and finally, he did not provide enough games to fill the roster, so he's got a blank.
Poor baby.
For first pick, that is criminal. Like, if you're first out the gates, you should not be getting a blank. But anything on that list that you've seen that you'd be sniffing at? I mean, obviously the Football Manager there, the Halos we've mentioned, Paper.
I think he did well for getting Halo so late in that pick, because I was thinking the amount of times that's had to go round, and he's got that at like number 5 or 6. He's done well to get that, and I feel people have missed that out, and I don't know why people have missed that out this year or not scored it as highly. So I'd be interested with that. criminal that he's missed one. There were some games in there that seem a bit, I've never heard of them for a life of toffees. So, but I guess that's what happens when you have to do the individual game. You have to really scrape the barrel sometimes.
I've not heard of these games for a life of toffees.
Yeah.
I've never heard that phrase in my life.
Now you have.
To be fair to him, like the Halo Infinite, that was like the 30th game.
Yeah.
Like, because basically he gets the first pick, then Chappers, then like to have that as number 6. 30 other games have been picked before that on everyone's list. That's madness. Biff, any comment on that list? I mean, he's got 2 Cracker Jacks at the top as far as I can see.
Yeah, it looks pretty decent. I think he's been quite clever because that means his first pick was Resident Evil 3, so he didn't decide to go for like The Last of Us and things like that. So he's obviously sort of played the odds in a way. But it looks pretty sound, except for obviously, like you say, having a blank. That's a nightmare.
That's what you started off with, and you were 6th. So,
well,
as you know, you can turn it around, can't you?
Yeah, you can, but you should be having to turn it around at first place.
No, you shouldn't really, you're right. Chappers is number 2. He's got Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 7, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, Half-Life Alyx, there it is, Gears Tactics, Gods and Monsters, Wild 2, Humankind, Diablo 4 Outriders. Any comment there, Paper?
Diablo 4 Outriders? Is that...
Diablo 4, then Outriders. They're 2 separate games.
Is Diablo 4 dropping next year?
We don't know.
See, that's one of the...
It's number 9 on his list, though.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's one of those ones that he's risked, but I think if that drops, after all the hate they got from the mobile game, that will do really well, because people are gasping for that type of game at the moment, and they have been for some time. So it's to get that so low, and if that does drop next year, that's fine. But he's, he came second last year, and he'd made like 5-6 subs or whatever he made. I when you play the individual
sub master,
game,
they call him.
Yeah, when you play the individual game,
he's like water, adaptive, liquid, fluid, changes to what's going on.
That individual game is all about putting the risky biscuits at the bottom, and if you get them, knowing that they can be swapped out. I feel anyway, it's like there are a couple, as I said, next year that Diablo 4, which I would never thought of, maybe the Breath of the Wild 2, you could have just put near the back of your list and just think risk it, and if they don't come out, I've still got time to sub and get something else in. So I don't think that's an awfully bad squad. I'm dubious by Cyberpunk, but that's just me. But it's probably going to score okay. So I think that's out of his and Krog's list, I'd rather have Chappers.
Cool. Any comment, Biff? Got Cyberpunk in there, Final Fantasy, which you weren't interested in?
Yeah.
Sounds like a shit list from your view.
Yeah, I think to be second, I don't think that's a great list. You don't know, though, do you? It's hard to say, because you're just...
Of course.
All we're doing...
You're paid to put your neck on the line here.
Yeah, I know, but we're just...
Jermaine Genius,
we're just
come
guessing.
on.
None of us know anything like...
I know.
I know.
1-2 years flat, that's what to come out of it. I know what's going on.
Yeah, it could be good, it could be shit. I don't really... And if he gets off to a good start with his first few games, then he might take it more seriously, and then... things like Diablo.
You think Chappers isn't taking this seriously?
He's the most serious person out of everyone in this.
No, but I mean, like with the Diablo risks,
he wants that title.
He might rein it in a bit and take fewer risks as the year goes on.
Be more conservative towards the back end.
Yeah, basically.
Diplomatic way of saying
it.
Yeah. We've then got Adkins, and here is his list. So bearing in mind, we had Logan Chappers. They got to choose their first 2 games. And out of those first 2 games, they had Resident Evil Cyberpunk 2077. Adkins has got himself The Last of Us Part 2.
That's a shambles.
Still, it's an absolute steal.
At number 3, he's got that. He's then got Ghost of Tsushima.
Again, well, he's already winning.
But he's then got Marvel Avengers, which we've seen bottom out of teams. Dreams, which is that create your own game jobby. Watch Dogs Legion that we spoke about earlier.
Yep.
And then he's gone for a little sly one. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition coming to Switch. And then after that, he's got 4 blanks.
What the hell's going on
Because he decided to... Well, he didn't decide to. He provided a list of just 16 games. And when you're fighting against 10 others, 10 others, what am I talking about? 6 others with 10 games each, 16 won't cut it. So he's already on minus 20.
What a waste.
Logan's on minus 5 and we criticised him for that.
What a waste.
Adkins is sitting there on minus 20.
So basically, a waste of The Last of Us Part 2 as well.
So even if Last of Us gets 90, Last of Us is now a 70. What a blower.
That is correct maths. That is correct maths. So we won't even talk about that list because that's just diabolical. That is disgraceful. Hall was then next. He got Doom Eternal, Ori and Will of the Wisps. And you got Shantae and the Seven Sirens, which I haven't heard of but looks pretty good. He then went for Bayonetta and Vanquish, the 10th anniversary edition. Yakuza 5, which I believe is being remastered. No More Heroes 3. Phantasy Star Online 2. Trials of Mana. Tell Me Why. And Everwild. Anything to comment on their paper? It's a full list for once, which is
I think Hall's learned a lot over the last year, and I think that's at the moment that.
What's he learned? You tell me the lesson he's learned.
Well, the lesson if we wind back a year, when I pulled out, some of those games was Free Houses, Fire Emblem, and stuff like that. I got laughed at by Hall. Hall played that.
Hall actually said that will score like shit.
Yeah.
But listen to this. Hall said Fire Emblem Free Houses will be shit. It will score like shit. And guess what his game of the year was? Fire Emblem Free Houses was his game of the year.
Exactly. And I feel like that's just opened his eyes a little bit. And now I feel like because he's got that, and like I didn't know if the game was going to be good. I just knew what it'd score like. I based on all the data. So I feel like that he's now looking at a different style of game and it's opened his eyes a little bit. So I feel like he's going to do quite well this year. And his list sort of proves that to me. Like there's a couple of games that are under the radar that actually look like they could score well. And, they're not going to be big in your face games, but, they're going to be ones that, going to get you your 80s or get you your high 70s and stuff like that later on in the roster. He's got a full list as well. He's got some, considering he's fourth and the top 3 were definitely going to be gone. He's got those Doom Eternals in there on Ori and the Will and the Wisps and stuff like that. So, I think Hall's done well there.
Other than Adkins, obviously, because he missed him 4 games. He ended up with his last pick being the highest on his list. So I had to go down, least on his list, which is impressive. I can't always look at that and think, right, he's got that in a good spot because not many people are going for the games around him. But we'll see. Biff, Hall is, as we've noticed and said, is your boss. You've got to be pulling for him in this individual league, and there's a couple of games on there that you recognise, but I bet your bollocks there's several on there that you ain't got a clue what's going on.
No, but there was a few of them I actually looked at and saw how they scored in previous games that they've been part of, and that he sounds like the winner so far out of the lists. I think that. So
you've binned Chappers, you've binned Logan.
He's binned himself.
He's basically given the Last of Us 70. Well done, Adkins, for doing that. And so Hall's in the lead at the moment.
I reckon that's pretty decent. I reckon he's done a good job there.
That's number 4. So the draft doesn't mean everything.
I come from 6. So
yeah, we know that. We can keep talking about it. Fucking this is your life.
Fucking repeating record, eh?
Oh no, bloody broken bastard. Adcock, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Axiom Verge 2, Breath of the Wild 2.
Sure. Oh, that's early doors. But,
Bayonetta 3.
You wanted that.
Bayonetta 3. Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE Encore, Metroid Prime 4, Overwatch 2, FIFA 21, Dragon Age 4, and your favourite, Biff, Game of the Year, bar none, Super Meat Boy Forever. Just can't let it die, can they? What do you think of that list, Biff? Because there's Super Meat Boy's on there. We've got Breath of the Wild 2. We've got the Dragon Ball game you wanted, plus a few scatterings of paper stuff and some unknown stuff. FIFA's on there. We know that's coming out. That's not a shabby list, is it, Biff?
Well, FIFA last one was terrible, so they'll either drag it out of the gutters and sort it out this next one, or they'll go down the same spiral and it'll get worse and worse.
But it won't be a blank.
No, it won't be a blank, that is correct, but
You don't seem impressed with that. Then it seems like you're like, well, that's took.
Yeah.
FIFA 20 got a 78.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm surprised it got that high, to be honest, because I thought it was awful. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I don't know. It's just hard to say, isn't it? I mean, I'm still a bit disappointed. I'm still in shock by Super Meat Boy Forever not definitely coming out in 2020. That would be a banker. So still
do that research, get that data.
Yeah, that's what I was missing.
What's required. Paper. What do you think of that list? Because you said Hall's the front one.
I still think Hall's the front one, but I think that's quite close. You know, he's played it sometimes the way I like to play it. He's put a few risky biscuits in there, ignoring the Super Meat Boy, which that could still come out. Who knows? You know, I know we joke about it. It could still drop, but he's got like Overwatch 2, which I don't think's got a release date yet. He's got Breath,
but surely maybe next year.
Yeah, you'd think so. Breath of the Wild 2. Once again, they've got a couple of risky biscuit ones, and if they don't drop, you've got time to sub. And with E3, there's always games that come out. I remember, was it like last year? Like things like Mario Maker came out like a couple of weeks after we did this draw and stuff like that. Forza 4, whatever it's called.
You nabbed
Smash Bros.
Smash Brothers Ultimate.
There's some good games that come out during the year for this year. And, you know, to have a couple of games in there that you think, well, you know, if that comes up at A3, then I'm in it. And if it doesn't, you know, there are games to be taken, still to be had out there. So I quite like that list. And, you know, I would never sniff my nose up on a individual team game at FIFA. And the same, I'd never sniff my nose up at like the CODs and all stuff like that, because they're just bankers. They're not going to score high, but they're also not going to score low. And you can win the individual games with a shit scoring game. I think I won it with like Fallout 76. Biff last year had a low scoring game. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. So you can still win the individual league with a bad scoring game. One bad scoring game. It's different from the team game. The team game, I don't think you can have one bad scoring game. In the individual league, you can.
Can get away with it. Then moving to Parky, who didn't have a choice in this yet to come in last. I couldn't think of a way to integrate him, so let's hope he does a Biff and does himself proud. But First game he's got is Animal Crossing New Horizons, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Neo 2, Spelunky 2. Then he's gone for Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, which is a DLC, Dying Light 2, NBA 2K21, I believe it's going to be called. The next Call of Duty, which I believe is going to be Black Ops 5. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, and then Beyond Good and Evil 2. Is that warranted of a bottom of the barrel paper in terms of?
I think he's outperformed some people's picks there. Like he's managed to get a full roster for one.
Well, he ain't got 4 blanks.
Exactly.
So you've got to already go well.
I like what he's done there. Like there's some things that stood out for me, like the Cuphead DLC. That we all know, and I'm surprised I didn't even think about it. That's going to get its open critic page, and it will score well.
Yeah, it will.
So you know, to get that low down as well, and once again, I think there was a couple of franchises in there as well. You got the Neo and 2 and stuff like that. So you know, if I was him, for being 6th pick, he's got some decent games in there. I would have looked at that and said he probably did better than what Biff did last year at 6th, but then Biff went on to win. So, you know, all the pressure on Parky now.
Well, absolutely. Biff, better than your performance last year, so you expect him to be staring at Parky next year for the belt?
No. I still think Hall has the best list there, but I think Piper's right. I think Parky's done well, and I think his list is a lot better than people that are a lot higher up. You know, all he's got to do is for 10 games to come out, and he would have beat Adkins, who's only got 6. So you ain't going to claw back at minus 20 points. He's just painted a target on his head, basically. Adkins, I think he's had a disaster.
That's good for the team game, crap for individual. Parky's main aim, he said to me, was, I just don't want to finish last.
Well, bless him.
And he's done. He's done that.
So he's won that. You're happy to hand out that trophy, the non-last trophy. Well, there you go.
I think Adkins is the new brain, by the way. You know, he does slip down, doesn't he, on this individual game? He never performs well. It's good. If
Dave was here, would he still be the brain dilution?
Well, no, or
do you think with that 4 fucking blanks?
Now that's the problem. There's no brain left for Dave. That's why he's gone. So now Adkins is the new brain. He's clever up front, but dilutes over time.
Not a lot of substance in that brain is what's being said. Good Lord. Right. We'll call this to a close. Thank you very much for that, boys. We've got one last task to do, and that is the team names. Out of respect for the champion, Paper, you may reveal your team name first.
So, last year it was Paper's Lemmings.
It was Paper's Lemmings, wasn't it?
It was Paper's Lemons. And I want to keep with that tradition now of the Lemmings, but I'm going to call it Paper's Parappas the Rappers.
It's a pain in the arse to type. Parappa the Rappers Lemmings.
No lemons.
No.
Papers, Parappas,
just
the Rappers.
Papers, Parappas, the Rappers.
Yeah.
So the Lemmings are bin. You just want the game name at the end of it.
Yeah. So it's the Papers, like it was last year. But then it got me all nostalgic when I was talking about lemons. And then I was just in the same sort of. And I was like, it made me remember me Parappa the Rapper. So I was like, all right, we're going to dance our way to victory this time. Slice and chop that vegetable, and slice Biff's little mashed potato head in half, and get that victory again.
Good Lord. Biff, have you got a better counter than that for your team name?
I'm going to go for Team Balboa.
Wow.
The underdog.
Trying to get the crowd on your side.
Well, they already are.
To be fair, it is like the old Russian fight, but reverse. So Ivan Drago versus fucking Apollo Creed. Paper's Drago and your Creed. People are already on your side. Let's just hope it doesn't end in the same tragedy of your brains mashed out onto the canvas and then buried 6 feet under later on. But that's it. Papers, Parappa the Rappers versus Team Balboa of Biff. Shit's getting serious now. There is hardware on the line. There's trophies, there's medals, and there is the beautiful custom-made championship belt. Who will be crowned Dimp Digital Fantasy Gaming League champion for 2020 to settle into a new decade? Who's going to be the first champion? We will find out in precisely 12 months' time. It's a long way away. But thank you all very much for joining us. And thank you, gents, for sitting there, talking, giving me your picks. Paper, Biff, I salute you, and I'll bid you farewell. The Blankers, goodbye. Thanks for your time, and ta-da.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Come back to silence. You two not even say a word.
No, I
didn't know he was still there.
was reading. I knew it. I just couldn't bother to talk.
I'm not talking to him.
Fucking, he's the enemy now.
He's the enemy now. This is it. The hatred of Adkins goes away, and now it's the hatred of Biff.
Adkins?
Well, I think it's more Adkins to you, but he's you got to hate this person. Get under his skin.
Yes, we got to.
Right. I will. So when we start doing the draw, I might go silent for a bit whilst I work out what's what, because I have to sort of on the fly work out what game they're going to give you and all that shit. So just sit tight and I'll edit it all out if it sounds awkward.
Right, okay. You don't want us to fill it with small talk.
If you can, then feel free to. But with you, pair, I'm not sure it's gonna,
I ain't talking to that cunt. Yeah. So,
cunt.
I'll get rid of that. Right, I was meant to get a coin. I've forgotten it, so I'll be back in a second. We're gonna do the coin toss. 1 sec. Fucking pissed up wank.
Meant to be filling this dead air, Piper.
Nah, silence. Fuck it.
Silence again. They really don't like each other.
They bloody hate each other, these two.
They bloody hate each other, these two.